Scheduled. Hey everyone, how's it going? It is I, the real Randy Chavez, coming at you today with Omi Homie number 94. NASDAQ updates, Omi speculation, growing users, and more with my co-host Crypto Rain. Everyone say hello to Dashi. Hello, Dashi. And yeah, we're getting ready to get that bread. Talking about AI and stuff. And we went over a little bit last week about the AI, how it could help VeVe, because they can take some junior developers and hire them, and they could use Claude, Gemini, whatever, and not have to pay a senior developer salary. So that would be cool. In your opinion, when you have so many people against AI, how does VeVe navigate those waters and saying like, well, we're just using it as a tool? You say this is the way, like just this is the way, and try to be ahead of the rest of the market, be ahead of everyone else. What are your thoughts on that?
You have to, just to stay competitive, because everyone else's cost to develop is going to go down if they're using AI and you're not. So, and if your costs are uncompetitive, then eventually you can't price things where your competitors can, and you go out of business. So, of course, they're going to go that route. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah, that's a hard one. There is, I think, somewhere around of, I think, $50 billion worth of money that was going to be spent on these AI data centers, but a lot because they were going to put it in relatively public areas. One was in upstate New York, and the people were like fighting back, like, no, we don't want this because in other areas you've had higher electricity costs, higher water bills, and they didn't. So now it seems like the government's trying to push for these like randomly wooded areas where it's like, okay, no one's going to complain here because there's no neighbors for 80 miles. That's the thing that they're doing. But yeah, you have a lot of negativity towards the AI. But because a lot of SaaS companies are being traded at lower multiples than they have been in years, and VeVe's hopefully about to be going public. We'll cover that in a minute. Do you put your foot on the gas? Do you just be like, okay, there's going to be some mistakes being made. Let's try it a little bit, at first, a little bit softer approach. And then once we find out what works, then we put our foot on the gas? Or do you just go all in from day one and learn by doing?
Well, the interesting thing about AI is there's a learning curve. So you got to learn by doing. So going all in, I would go partially in so you can figure out what best practices are. It's too early to really know, and things are evolving. Like the AI is getting markedly better and markedly cheaper as they go along. So things using AI, it's faster and better and cheaper each iteration. So like that's good news. So you might as well have your people diving in, taking courses to, amplify their skill sets, especially your best workers. Because like I was talking to my son, and he manages a Chick-fil-A, not Chick-fil-A, a Chipotle.
Chipotle.
Yeah, like, and so, he's talking about some workers. Some workers are awesome. And he's like, oh, this one, they're just always finding an excuse to mess around and stuff. And it's like, well, take your best ones and you have them go to like classes. You pay for them to go classes to really use it. That way, as they figure it out, those ones that are always screwing around and like never doing a good job and never on task, you can let them go. They'll be replaced. So a lot of people are like, oh, it's taking jobs. And the truth is, like, your job is only as good as you're doing. I called it when I used to have to work a job, I called it tying yourself to the money tree. And the money tree is making yourself invaluable to the business so that they never want to let you go because you bring so much more value than what they pay you. And if you do a good job doing that, they will never want to fire you. In fact, they'll be scared to lose you. And even though they won't want to, they will have to give you raises because they are scared to lose you.
Agreed.
So yeah, there's a big change coming, and people who are employees and not jumping all over that, you are going to get left behind if it touches your area. And even if it doesn't, there are things that can make you more productive using it. I don't love the learning curves. It's like, oh man, one more thing to dive into and learn. I wish I was like super excited about it and I could wake up every day and be super excited to learn about it. But it's kind of like, I'm not, but I'm like, well, might as well dive into this.
I'm lucky because I thoroughly enjoy it. And be advised, so Rain was just talking to business owners and that, but if you're just a worker and you're like, well, my boss isn't doing that, my company's not doing that, so I'm safe. No, you're not. Your boss, your company is probably going to have their lunch get eaten, and it's possible that in the next 5 years they won't exist. They'll get swallowed up by a conglomerate. You won't have a job, and because you decided not to go into AI, you are going to be unable to compete in the new market where everyone um, is well versed in it. So do not let that technology pass you by. What's going on, everyone in the comments? Truck and Hank, Ben and Korea, thanks for being a member. Croner and Chillin and Vibin. More on him later. In the updates from VeVe, this one did come from Orange Cloud. That is a Singapore-based technology company, saying that the proposed merger transaction with Orbis Technology, which is, they provide an update today on that. Orbis is obviously the parent company of VeVe. VeVe is Orbis's flagship consumer-facing brand and marketplace, serving as distribution and demand engine for the group's underlying IP infrastructure. As previously disclosed, the company's press release from February 11th, Orange Cloud Technology has entered a non-binding letter of intent, or LOI, with VeVe and indicated that the parties were working toward an execution of a definitive agreement on or around February 28th. The company did announce today that while both parties continue to engage in active discussions and negotiations, both parties remain committed to the proposed transaction. However, additional time is required to finalize certain terms of the definitive agreement. So I think this is good news. Because we didn't hear anything on the 27th, 28th, and a bunch of us were a little worried. But now we heard straight from the horse's mouth that no, they are going to get this done. It's just going to take them a little more time. Whatever that they are, whether it's the price per share or it's what's going to happen to the assets or whatever after that, or what the payout's going to be. Again, we don't know what exactly it is that was the cause of delay. But the good news that they are committed to getting the deal done. They didn't say how much of a delay it would be, maybe a couple days, maybe a couple weeks, a month or two. Rain, what's your thoughts on the whole thing, the way that they can use, because they are a SaaS company? Yeah, give me your thoughts.
Well, are you talking about VeVe and them going public?
Yes.
Yeah, remember like 4 years ago when soon meant like 15 months? And now soon actually means soon. So like, let's celebrate where VeVe is at. Like, they actually get things done in a reasonable timeline. Now, as a buyer of Omi, like, I don't care if it takes an extra 4 weeks for that to become live, or 5 weeks or 6 weeks, because it's like, is that really going to make the market go crazy? Not that aspect by itself, not really. So it's just news. And sure, in an uptrend where everything's going crazy, it would be an excuse for the price to go even crazier, but we're not in that kind of market yet. So it's like, cool, David will get it done when he gets it done. And in the meantime, like, what's the use of being impatient about it? It's like, yay, that needs to happen. It's like, okay, so it takes 4 weeks or 2 weeks or a week. Irrelevant. And basically, I'm pretty patient. I'm really just waiting till everybody's FOMOing into crypto. And that time isn't yet. Would have loved if I had my magic crystal ball or my magic wand, and could have said when I wanted it to happen. It would have been March last year. But it didn't play out that way because I don't have a magic wand. And so now we're just waiting for that time period. In that time period, I think Omi goes crazy and everything will be seen as good news.
Agreed. We could be next week. It could be 18 months from now, could be longer, could be anywhere in between. But speaking of next week, maybe next week we have since the last time we had spoken on the Omi is My Homie show, I can't believe episode number 94. Since the last time, the US has carried out multiple bombing operations in Iran in conjunction with Israel. Qatar jumped in last night. UAE is considering jumping. There's a whole bunch of bombing stuff going on, and you would think, because the market does not like uncertainty, everything would go, but it didn't. It stayed relatively where it is. It's been up to 70,000 a couple times, and I think part of the reason is because you just have wars can be good for the economy. You have people spending. You have the Fed that historically in times of war have cut rates, and through that, obviously, it because the government has to borrow, and if you borrow, you want to borrow at lowered rates. So that's a possibility for it. It hasn't really affected alts. It hasn't really affected the crypto market at all. And just in your experience, because you've been here a lot longer than I have, has any other bombing campaign or any other military campaign affected crypto in a positive or negative way, from what you remember?
Well, usually negative, right? So going back to Korea and North Korea, when Trump was first in office, it impacted crypto to the downside. So it is interesting that this major event happens in bombing of Iran and taking out their Ayatollah, and then their next Ayatollah. This is a big change, and usually that introduces a lot of stress into the environment. So the fact that crypto didn't move now means crypto's probably at its bottom. And I know lots of people are predicting, $48,000 Bitcoin and $35,000 Bitcoin. And at every bottom, if you look back at the charts, when it bottomed out at 14,000, people were predicting a $3,000 Bitcoin. So just because so many people are so bearish and they're saying it's going to go way down doesn't mean they're right. In fact, if so many people are bearish, the chances that they're right are very, very low. So I take this as a sign that the market's pretty close to the bottom, and momentum is going to go the other direction pretty soon.
Agreed. I hope so as well. We have, and again, wars can be good, especially when people lower rates. There's a lot of money going in. Who knows? We could see maybe we start getting that K-shaped recovery soon. We shall see. Mario says, I wish we would partner with Pudgy Penguins because I think it's a great IP and so much potential. Yeah, I think that'd be great. They certainly
I bet you they would do it with the right introduction. I bet you they'd totally do it.
Yeah.
That VeVe would do it. I bet Pudgy Penguins would do it. There's not any downside for Pudgy Penguins.
Yeah. I don't think there's any downside to either.
There's not a downside for VeVe.
Yeah. What's going on? Arcturus, JKRB. Yeah, when Pudgy Penguins had a Valentine's Day New York City event, a lot of them that were there, they were not Web3 peeps. There were a lot of Web2 peeps that fell in love with the GIFs and the memes and the stuff. And there's very few crypto people there, which is very curious. Yeah. So anyone that can get some eyes on the project, I think, can work. Now, speaking of eyes on the project, we've had a new announcement. 3 weeks ago, we had 1,600 people join the app in a week. 2 weeks ago, we had about 100 people, and in the last week, we've had about 300 people join. Now, the 2 to 3 weeks ago, you could say, okay, that was the ORKT news and the potential merger. That's why I had that many people. Okay, cool, makes sense. And then we went back down to 100. But then this week, I don't know why. It's possible because of the Krasu NFT, the head that we had that's supposed to haunt our vaults. And then we had the other day, like yesterday or 2 days ago, Friend Get Friend, very weird name. We'll talk about it. What do you think this Friend Get Friend, or why do you think we've gotten so many users, about 2,000 the last 3 weeks? And then what do you think this Friend Get Friend thing does for VeVe users as well?
I don't know the Friend Get Friend thing, so let me see.
It was announcement where they said, hey, now you don't need a certain amount of followers, you don't need to apply like the affiliate program had. All you need to do is just have an account, you generate a link. When you get somebody referred, the friend gets $5, you get $5 in gems, and it's called Friend Get Friend.
Oh yeah, okay, I like that. They're making the incentive to everyone. I like that a lot.
How do you think they should market this campaign? Facebook ads, Instagram ads? People not pay attention to that anymore? Or do they hire more influencers for it?
They do use social media ads because I get them. I was like, wait, you already got me. You don't need to send me your ads and waste money on that. Like, I'm already a big fan. But like, I see them all the time. I'm like, okay, well, they are running some kind of marketing. Social media, like, especially on people's cell phone, that's a good way to get people. because it can download the app and start collecting. So like right now is not the time to pour massive amounts of money on it unless their tests of what they're spending show that the amount of new revenue that they're getting exceeds the cost of marketing. Then sure, pour gasoline on that. But in a bigger bull run, NBA Top Shots ran marketing for like 2 weeks, but in the greater bull run, and it brought so many new users, it crashed their servers and they had to upgrade their servers. And they didn't market again. They saved all kinds of marketing dollars, but that was enough in a bull run to really crush momentum.
Yeah.
So, or like make it go crazy. So I imagine VeVe's best strategy is probably something like that. But I don't know what the internals look like of how much they're spending on ads and social media right now and how many new users it's generating.
Yeah. There's a, I mean, again, you have 2,000 people the last few weeks, but again, we don't know how much of that is because of the marketing, how much is because of the RKT news, et cetera. So it's very hard to get those metrics. But becoming a public company, it will be a lot easier to see who's buying. And it's like, okay, it's not just, Randy going in and DCAing on OMI. It's not just Crypto Rain that's coming in. It's like, yeah, I like OMI, been buying it for years, same as me. You're going to have some other people that are not as quiet about their wealth, and they're just like, oh, this person has X, Y, and Z. They've done this, and that you'll have people that be a little more loud that have done that. On the opposite end, you had MicroStrategy. An article came out saying that they are the most shorted stock on Wall Street now. About 14% of their float is currently shorted. So you're going to have new bulls coming in for VeVe. That's just like, yeah, I'm going to buy the shares because I love this company. I love what they're doing. I love David and Dan's vision, the revenues that they're making, the partnerships. The list goes on and on. And then you're probably going to have some less than average IQ people like, you know what? I'm going to short it. And you're going to have some shorts there. How much do you think when VeVe does go public, do you think there's people that are going to be bold enough, like the FUDders? Do you think, one, they're successful enough to be able to have the funds to short it? Do you think they're bold enough to do that? Do you think there's any shorts? If you do you think that people will let them start to short it before the bulls kind of squeeze them? Because now you have this, now you have these wars that might go on. What are your thoughts about it?
I don't know. In the short term, shorting your big players probably wouldn't short it, and like small players shorting it, they're not going to be very big shorts. So that's a risky game to play. My recommendation to people trying to get rich in crypto is not to play with leverage at all, because leverage wipe you out real fast, and it puts a clock on things. So even if you're right, if you're not right in the wrong, if you're wrong on the timeline, then you end up losing all your money. So, yeah. Or you put a stop loss in, you lose a chunk of your money real quick. So, yeah, I don't like leverage trading at all. I strongly recommend people against it. So I just like buying VeVe stuff and holding it long term. I do think digital collectibles are going to be huge. Most people don't realize how big this sphere is going to be. And so in the meantime, like, buying some of these collectibles that are really special and holding on to them, I love that strategy. Buying OMI, I think there is so much fundamentals behind OMI that when the bull run goes and people really realize how big of a deal digital collectibles are, I think OMI goes crazy. And it's one of my favorite undervalued cryptos, in my opinion, in the whole space. And tons of people are sleeping on it. We were looking at the price on buy, wait, or sell today with Paul. We had it today because he can't do tomorrow, and we were looking at OMI. It's like, oh my gosh, like it's so cheap right now. Like it's amazing. What market cap's like 40 million for a company like this. That's crazy.
I had some of that on before. I think you were looking at like NXO or something. It was after, yeah. So I didn't see the OMI yet. It was just up to that part. I was like, oh, okay. There's not a ton left. Agreed. There's so many things to want. It's like that scene from Greatest Showman. It's everything you ever want. It's everything you ever need, and it's here right in front of you. Like it's everything you could want in an investment. One of the things that they did was they got recently a company called NBM Comics. That's November Bravo Mike Comics. And I never heard of them before, but they have a Michael Jackson graphic novel that's like 100-something pages. You can get it for $20 over on VeVe Comics website. They did sell almost 300 of them, so it's like 6K worth of stuff that they got, which is cool. That's more than a lot of other comics that come out on that website. Were you a fan of the King of Pop? Did you ever see him live? Would you get this comic maybe in the secondary?
I like Michael Jackson a lot. You're talking about Michael Jackson, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, massive trendsetter, incredible. It's funny with the Epstein files, like some of the stuff that came out about Michael Jackson, and maybe he was even going to tell on some of the Epstein people, and so he got smeared as a predator. Now, is that true? I don't know. I haven't really seen evidence that Michael Jackson was a predator. In fact, there's some of the, like Macaulay Culkin said, Michael Jackson like saved him from some of the bad people and talked him out of going to Epstein Island. So it's like, well, there's some indication that he's good, like quite a good guy, and that maybe his mysterious death had something to do with that. Who knows? I love his music and I love his dancing skills. His entertainment capabilities were amazing. He was obsessed with doing good performances, and he worked really hard. He had choreographers come in, work with him on the stuff, and a lot of his moves he invented himself. But I watched a lot of stuff on him because I was fascinated by him as a kid. And, you know, he kind of made breakdancing a thing, and there was a bunch of people who took it and went further with it. But as a kid, I was fascinated by breakdancing. So Michael Jackson and all the zippers on the leather jackets was like the coolest thing. And I wanted one so bad. But like I've said before, I was quite poor when I was a kid. So I did have my first job when I was 8 and was able to save up for things. But an Atari took precedent over a leather jacket with lots of zippers.
I feel you. For me, Nintendo and video game stuff, yeah, it takes precedence over a lot as well. One of my favorite TikToks that I've seen was this. It was a repost or a reaction of this girl saying that I think it was either Beyonce or Taylor Swift was like Michael Jackson level famous and like even more popular than Michael Jackson. And then the person reacting cut the video there and just like, listen, girl, no one was Michael Jackson level famous. And she showed footage of a 1983 basketball game where Magic Johnson had invited Michael Jackson to sit in the courtside seats. And if anyone's ever gone to the games in the last 20 years, you get like a little, or used to get a pamphlet. Now I assume it's like an app that you can download of all the stars that will be in courtside seat. You see like Spike Lee, you see like a bunch of people like in courtside seats, Selena Gomez and all that. And it's cool. You go, like, you zoom in your camera, you take a picture. It looks fun. In 1983, when Michael Jackson went to an LA Lakers game, they had to stop the game because people could not keep to themselves, and they were running on the court. They were running towards him, and so they're like, okay, Michael, you can't be here. They had to stop the game, escort him out, and then finish the game because people lost their minds. And there's just, you don't see that nowadays. And maybe in the 80s, people were just on a little bit, that people were just more wild. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, I don't think that type of stuff happens nowadays.
Yeah, Taylor Swift is quite the celebrity these days, but compared to Michael Jackson, it just seems like that because they don't have a direct comparison.
Yeah.
Number one, those people saying it probably weren't around when Michael Jackson was a big deal, but like almost everyone in China knew who Michael Jackson was.
Yeah.
They don't know who Taylor Swift is. And she's really big. She's globally big, but compared to Michael Jackson, no.
The part of the reason they don't know who she is in China is because she had an album called TS89 because initials Taylor Swift, and she was born in 1989. But China censored the album because of the fact that if you Google TS89, you'll get Tiananmen Square 1989, and they want to censor what happened there. So they really, really like, they don't, the government of China does not like Taylor Swift. Up Twin Kick saying was the easiest way to buy Omi. honestly, on Twitter, just say like, "Hey, BankerBot, buy me Omi." But you could do it on Coinbase. You don't even need crypto. You could just put like dollars in there, and then you could go in and you could get Omi that way. I think it uses 1inch as an aggregator. Coinbase Wallet, there, Kraken. There's a bunch of ways you can do it. Yeah, Elvis was definitely first. Oh my God, Doc, are you texting and driving? Please do not do that.
What's up, Doc? Doc's on the road, so he's not able to join us.
Yeah, we miss him. We love him. He's the best. You had Jane Street last week that was now getting sued for market manipulation, benefiting from their losses with insider info. Do you think that's part of the reason that we were going down for so long, because a lot of inside info manipulation, and now that people are starting to get sued for it, maybe some of that stops?
I wonder, there's some fishy things with Jane Street. Now, I've heard this from a couple of places, but that Sam Bankman-Fried had come from Jane Street, interestingly enough. And I do think they're massive manipulators. I think that's why Sam Bankman-Fried thought he could just be so brazen and do whatever he wants. Because, like, I think Jane Street's been big enough, and there's certain reporting requirements most companies have to do that they don't have to do, and they've been, I think, manipulating a lot behind the scenes. I hope more of this comes out, because I know, having been in here, that there's huge whales, but a lot of times it's hard to understand who and identify who those whales are that are just pushing things around. They'll take out a whole bunch of shorts and then drive the market down, and you could kind of see that that's what happened, but without knowing who really did it. Yeah. I heard that the 2021 market should have done much better, but Sam Bankman-Fried, combined with some other players, reversed the market on purpose sooner to give it a bad name and made a bunch of money on shorts. And it's like, oh, if that's true, it would make sense that maybe Jane Street was some of those others working with him. And then it bit him in the butt as, his token went down. He became insolvent. And, when the tide goes out, you see who's not wearing any swim trunks. Well, Sam Bankman-Fried he'd been using the people on the exchange, their assets to trade against.
Wow.
Yeah, Dr. Stuff says they absolutely manipulated Bitcoin, and I hate that kind of stuff.
Agreed.
Yeah, I hope it all comes out and they get exposed. And if there's crimes, I don't know if there's crimes doing this. Bitcoin's not a security, and so there's not the securities laws. But it sounds like they were getting some insider information that they used to tank and crash Luna and make a whole bunch of money in the process. And that might be illegal, or at least they could get sued for it. And I hope they get exposed if there was unethical things happening or illegal things happening.
Well, yeah, definitely both. We want them to pay for their crimes. Not that any one of us would ever get any of that, but it's nice to see some justice.
Yeah, I love bad actors washed out, right? And it seems like they're a bad actor. I don't know more of the specifics. I just know a lot of speculation that I've heard. So it's like, okay, probably the speculation has some basis of truth. I'm just going to assume maybe that's the case.
Agreed.
If Doc is saying they absolutely manipulated Bitcoin, that strengthens it a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, we trust Doc on all of those things, regulatory and non-regulatory. We love him. We will welcome him here next week. It'll be great. So I don't know how much of this is manipulation or how much of this is just maybe not purposeful manipulation, but up until recently, you had like BlackRock, you had a bunch of different big hedge type companies going in and buying up houses. And then it was deemed illegal, saying like they can't do that. Houses are going to be for American people, not for these big $1 trillion companies' balance sheets. And now the U.S. has more than 44% of home sellers than buyers, which is one of the largest gaps in history. And you being a real estate guy yourself, wondering if you give us some insight to that, the reason for that, how that can affect the markets, crypto, etc.
You said there's more sellers than buyers?
The US now has about 44% more sellers than buyers, which is one of the largest gaps in its history.
Well, so likely some markets are in for pain. And the reason why we've had this prolonged boom, and booms don't continue up for forever, but real estate isn't a nationwide thing. It's a state by state, even geographical area by geographical area thing. Now, likely, I think interest rates come down, and they might come down considerably, 1 or 2 points in the coming year, which could bring some momentum back. But remember, like, what goes up and seems like it's going up for forever never does. What goes down and seems like it's going down for forever never does. So markets are cyclical, even in some of these real estate markets that are very boom and bust. In California, Vegas, even Washington State and Oregon, they're very boom and then bust, just like crypto is. And so Arizona, even Utah, I've watched some on the East Coast, like New York. Hawaii is cyclical, but it has its own cycle. And they go very boom and bust. So real estate's been so up for so long. Really, 2010 was the bottom for many of those markets. In 2021 to 2023 was the top for many of those markets. And so what goes up doesn't go up for forever. Now, some markets may still continue somewhat strong if interest rates come down by 2 points. But under the Biden administration, interest rates went up to like 7 and 8% for home mortgages. So a lot of people who are in existing homes, if they just keep their home with their 3% mortgage they might have, why would they move? So that massively slowed down the real estate market. So over time, more and more sellers have come on the market and those homes haven't sold. And the buyers have already bought, but they're maybe refinancing their current home, but they're not incentivized to move. And it's taken a lot of the momentum out. So when prices feel like they're going down, well, less buyers come into the market because they don't feel any urgency to buy. And so, of course, things are slowing down. I expect many of those markets will continue. Now, buying season is March through, say, September. So they'll probably see things increase March through September. Some of that inventory will come off, and more buyers might exceed sellers for a while, but then it will slow down again. And some of those markets will probably see a retracement on their prices. But we'll see how interest rates come down. I'm just guessing that interest rates will come down by 1% or 2% under the new Fed chairman. Don't know that for sure. Back forever ago, he was very hawkish, meaning he's more likely to keep interest rates high. But it seems like he gets that there might be some massive deflation coming. And massive deflation, when you introduce something like AI, it's a game changer for productivity. So businesses can create way more production without huge amounts of additional inputs. So what that does is they can produce the same things for far cheaper. In fact, sometimes they can produce more for cheaper. And so they can lower the price on their products, which starts bringing prices down. If prices start going down massively, that creates some deflationary pressure. And it's okay to print like crazy in that environment because there's lots of reasons why you don't actually want prices across the board to go down tremendously. You don't want massive deflation.
Agreed. Doctor stuff, going back to the Jane Street, says they were already sued for sketchy stuff in the Indian stock market. They had to give back a lot of money, and the Indian stock market changed laws around derivative positions due to Jane Street. Damn, did not know that.
Yeah, perhaps the U.S. needs to make those same changes, bastards.
They might. Doug also says a lot of buyers can't afford homes at these prices combined with current interest rates. Agreed. Housing prices have gone up a lot, while the median salary or average salary has not gone up that much. It has not kept up at a commensurate rate. So maybe you see even come down a little bit because it has to.
Yeah.
The 14FU F9H saying, will we have an alt season?
I believe Raoul Pal is right on this. So that is coming. I think so many people have turned so bearish, and that's a good thing. One of the things that really bothered me in 2025 is there was a lot of reasons to believe we would probably have an alt season in 2025. Historically, from 2013, 2017, 2021, it had been every 4 years, and that had happened twice. So it was like, okay, the Bitcoin halving is in 2024, and the year after the Bitcoin halving, we would have not only a Bitcoin ramp up, but then a lot of that would flow into altcoins. One of the concerns I had, though, was that everybody expected it. Now, in 2021, not everyone expected it. That pattern had only happened once. Many people said, I was in the crypto space then, there was not this general belief that there was going to be a 4-year cycle. In fact, me talking about that, a lot of people argued with me. Well, then it happened just like that. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, I was a little bit concerned, or a lot concerned last year, that so many people were so sure there would be a 4-year cycle that I'm like, this high percentage of people can't be right. It never happens that way. So sure enough, we've seen it take extra time. Also, I think a lot of what's driven that is that interest rates have been so high. So we haven't seen a huge debt refinance that Raoul Pal talks about, which flushes a lot of money into the system when this big refinance of this long-term debt happens every 4 to 5 years. Now, normally it's happened every 4 years, and that should have been last year, but it didn't because interest rates were so high. So hopefully it happens this year as interest rates come down, all that long-term debt is refinanced, as well as quantitative easing, bringing more money into the economy, and altcoins go boom. When all these people have jumped out of altcoins, it's like, well, shoot, I try to tell them, don't sell when it seems like it's boring. Don't sell when it seems like it'll never happen. You just hold these positions long term. Try to be in companies where you feel strong that they have enough runway and they have the right team that when the narrative flips around, they can do quite well. But right now, there's many companies like that whose token prices are absolutely savaged. So there's all kinds of deals out there. So many people are passing it up.
Agreed. There's Colette 911 says, I think the next bull run will start sooner than rather than later to fool the majority once again. Expect a very bullish 2026. Yeah, as Rain was saying, when everyone's expecting you to go left, it goes right, right goes left, vice versa. And yeah, it's crypto market's been pretty boring. The only way it hasn't been boring is because the massive dips we've been taking. That can only go on for so long. We'll see where it goes. Raoul Paul was asked about the NFT digital collectibles in 2026, and he said that the NFT artwork will sell for about $20 million. And Booth says he thought about the VeVe one-of-one art pieces. That is another feather that David has in his cap. Obviously, you have the users on VeVe and you have the sellouts, but on his website, not on the app.vv.me website, you can bid for the one-of-ones, and they go for thousands of dollars, sometimes tens of thousands. And I believe there's something there that nobody's taken a look at yet. And I think it is those one-of-ones. What are your thoughts on those? I don't believe you have any, right?
No, I haven't bought any of them. They go for quite a lot. And so I just like more predictable items, or what I feel are more predictable, because some of those one-of-ones will probably go for a shit ton in the future. But which ones? And they're quite expensive. So it's like, I can take a bet on Darth Vader's first appearance, and I could buy a bunch of the commons, which what's nice about those is I can then sell off some if it's going crazy, not knowing if it's the top, and then I can sell off some more. Because if you have a one-of-one, you have a choice, either sell it or hold it. You can't really cash out half of it, especially on VeVe. And so you can either sell it or hold it. So you're stuck just holding it and then sell it. And so I haven't gone that way. People have lots of cash that they're deploying, and it's just a fraction of their thing. Well, that makes sense. If I had millions of dollars that I was deploying just in the VeVe app, I would have bought some. Some of the ones I just like the most. And what the problem with those is it's so hard to part with them. They aren't really an investment so much as something you're going to keep for a long time, probably a very long time, and you'll be unable to sell. So it's more like a purchase than an investment.
Yeah, same. I get a bunch of stuff where I know it's like I say I'm gonna sell it at these prices. Will I? Some of them I will, but a lot of them it's like, no, I like these because what the
It's,
decisions you make when you're looking to make money are different than the decisions you make when you've already made that money and your mindset just changes. You're like, well, yeah, I was going to sell this at this price because I only had so much available capital. Now that my available capital has risen at an insane rate, then it's like, well, now I don't need to sell, and your vision changes. Bruno asking us to try to predict the future here, saying what are the chances 0 to 100% of Omi ever getting to 50 cents? I'd say eventually at some point it's pretty good, especially if they keep burning, especially like you're going to have probably a long timeline on this. But yeah, I think we can go to 50 cents in the
yeah.
next 10 years.
Yeah, next 10 to 20 years, I think so. I think the chances are pretty strong.
Yeah.
If VeVe becomes the #1 digital collectibles app, I don't see why in 10 or 20 years it wouldn't go to 50 cents, which would probably be a couple different cycles.
Yeah. That. Booth lesson before we get to the rest of our show. If something's bought for expensive prices at the bottom of a bear, maybe it's one of ones, and imagine how much it's sold for when we are bull all-time highs. I think we're always right. Millions. It depends on what someone's willing to pay for it. Like you had, and there's also depending on how much attention is on VeVe, because a lot of people were talking about Logan Paul's one of one, his PSA 10 Pikachu Illustrator, which had gone to Anthony Scaramucci's kid for 16 point something million. And Anthony Scaramucci had said that one of the approaches that we were trying to take with the card is to help AJ get exposure in the land of collectibles. And what the media attention around the card generated about $200 million worth of media buy. So he paid 16 point something million, wound up getting, a couple $100 million worth of media attention. So I think some people will go in and they'll buy one of ones and they'll do certain auctions. They'll show up at certain events because of the flex of people say like, okay, they get attention. And what is that worth? To a hermit, that's not worth anything, but to somebody that thrives on it, and you don't have to be like sycophant. You don't have to be like this big ego megalomaniac. You could just be someone that just likes it or can use that attention for their business or their platform. I think a lot of people will start to buy a bunch of these things specifically for that attention.
They will. That's my belief is when the sheikhs and a lot of this oil money comes in, they just think about money differently. Sometimes the price they pay for things is part of the story. So they're not necessarily trying to get the cheapest price because how many millions they paid for it is part of the story. And that's the flex. So them buying some things that they really want that they deem as cool for 10 million or 5 million or 20 million, it's part of the story. And for them, like if they have billions in oil money, 5 million isn't anything for them.
Yeah.
So like we'll see how this plays out and how many people with oil money come in, how many big influencers like Logan and Jake Paul get involved with digital collectibles. But I think eventually they do. And I think eventually they come into VeVe. VeVe's app is so easy to use. The scarcity, it's got some simplicity that a lot of other NFT projects don't have. So I think those are going to turn into massive strengths.
Yeah. I want to get into the Akomi gold and silver coin, but before I get into that, a little preface of that. There was a buddy of mine, someone that I think you might have met, you might not have met. Don't say his name on here, but he was in a meeting at Mar-a-Lago like a week or two ago at a dinner that cost about $100,000 a plate. He happens to sit next to a family member of a big name. Everyone would know the name of it here, of a big brand, and they happened to do a deal where the guy invested like $10 or $15 million into a couple of his businesses, and it's like, oh wow, that's nice dinner. Yeah, you pay $100,000, you get 15 million in investing. It's like, yes, stuff like that can happen. That's not the norm. I'm not going to say that's the exception, but that's what happens when you have these a lot of like fancy do's and howdy do's. The reason I bring that up is because you have the Akomi Gold and Silver, or the Akomi logo Secret Rare, which there is a group on that. There has been at least one meetup, maybe two, that Mr. MC1 has put on, kind of a sister group of the VeVe Gold and Silver logo, in here, via Figpin. And we got a gold and silver coin from our VeVe logos late last year, and the last couple of days we got to craft the Secret Rare Akomi logo for an Akomi coin, which is going to be about 1/2 ounce of silver. The silver content is not really about it. It's super scarce. It's like one of like 250, maybe 280, give or take. And the people that are in those groups maybe they can't give you like 15 million to your business, although some can. But I think that just goes to show the power of notoriety, the power of groups of that type of upper echelon. What are your thoughts about the gold and silver coin, the VeVe Gold logo? What that can do, what VeVe can do for those groups as it goes public, as there's more eyes on it, and what that group can do for VeVe, because it's not just a place where nerds just buy digital collectibles. Like, oh, there's some actual legit successful and powerful people here, and okay, VeVe's not just amassing this group of nerds, they're amassing a lot more than that.
Well, in the early days, when you're trying to get a collectible brand to take off, and VeVe has its own brand and is also an app, it feels like it struggles and struggles until it doesn't. So it did do remarkably well in 2021, and they got enough momentum and enough notoriety that there's still a loyal fan base that continues to buy even in this bear market, that loves their stuff enough that they frequently sell out fairly quickly on a lot of their drops. And this is in a bear market. Now, when we have another crypto bull run, it's probably going to be like pouring gasoline on an already big fire, and they become a much bigger name. Like right now, it's hard to imagine like all these big names being in the gold and silver logo thing. But there might be a time that like Jake and Logan Paul have gold and silver logos and, go to the events. Why? Because then they network with other big ballers that have 10 million or 100 million or $2 billion. And at that point, these logos go crazy. And maybe Akomi, like right now, Omi is often, for better term, shit on by so many people because like the price is down, and it feels like it will stay down for forever. It won't. There will come a time where Omi is super talked about, and it's a really big deal. And in that environment, those the Akomi gold and silver logos might be worth a fortune, as well as the tokens associated with it, or the silver coins, worth a fortune too. So it feels like Akomi's token is like way in the dumps. We started this show because I think the value behind Omi is tremendous. And the price was just going down and down and down. And some people were like, oh my gosh, I'm out. I'm buying this gaming project or this and that. And it's like, okay, go ahead. And maybe those gaming projects worked out for you. I like blockchain gaming a lot, but I would never sell Omi to buy into those, because we have this track record with Dan and David in the VeVe app that all these other projects don't have. Track record of getting massive IP and doing deals that are quite amazing. And since then, Omi's token price has gotten even cheaper, which has washed out even more people. And then it got even cheaper and washed out even more people. And it's like, you guys, you're looking at the price action and don't realize the value as an investor is buying when it's cheap, and it gets cheaper and then you leave, because they see this decline in price and they think that that's always going to be the case. And it isn't. If you look back at Cardano during the last bear market, all I did as Cardano got cheaper was I just bought more. Sure, did I love that my first buy was 11 cents when it bottomed out at 1.7 cents? No, I didn't like that. That was just how dollar cost averaging often goes. So VeVe has gotten cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, and they're gonna learn this lesson painfully if they pay close enough attention. That at some point, Omi goes to the moon, and they're gonna miss out tremendously. And then they'll be telling their grandkids how they could have gotten rich. oh, I'm sorry, you had to grow up super poor. I could have gotten rich, but I sold all my Omi at less than I bought it for because, well, I didn't like Rain, and I didn't like Randy, and blah blah blah, and whatever, and they won't take ownership of they didn't believe us when we were trying to tell them there's good long-term vision here, but you have to be patient enough to get those gains. And the truth is, most people aren't patient enough to get those gains. Like if you're here now, that's a good sign, but that's not a sign necessarily that you're making the right choices. If you're dollar cost averaging in smart crypto projects that are outside the narrative right now, that are massively cheap, and you're diversifying across a number of them, I think it's going to work out amazing for you. If you're not, and at least you're here, well, you're going to get a great education on why I say that is the strategy to go with.
There's a bunch of things that we both have, Omi being one of them. There's DevVe, there's Fiat, Infinity, Louis, and Flow. There's a bunch. We do have a question on DevVe. Do you think that DevVe could hit $30 end of year? Are we super early for DevVe, like 6 to 8 years out? For me, anything can happen. I didn't expect it to be down here. $30 is a lot. It depends when stuff hits, depends on when the bull market takes off, what the blow off top is. Very well could, or it could take 2 more years. I don't know. Randy, do you have any more insight on that?
Yeah, I think the altcoin bull run is this year. It may not be till next year, but it's likely this year. And if that's the case in that environment, I think DevVe could hit $30.
Great. We'd be Oprah rich. Not that rich. She's crazy. But somewhere near there. Bringing back to VeVe and Omi, a guy named Crypto Robbery says that I recently bought my 7th partner statue because I heard VeVe Magic had 6. She doesn't know it, but I'm winning. You do have some people that they're playful dog fights. There's playful banter, and like I remember some people doing it with, like, I think Cora, the like little Tokidoki thing last time. People would just get like 200 of them for no reason, just because they could. And there's some people that still do stuff like that because they like it. Like I stacked the unbeatable Squirrel Girl, not because of any ROI that I would get, probably be negative ROI on that, but just because I like her. She's cool. Squirrels are awesome. But there's going to be people that do that on the higher end things, that one, because it's fun, be like, oh, you have 3, I have 4, but also because when you get Wall Street coming in, are they going to grab the Cryptkins, or are they going to grab, first appearance Superman, Batman, partner statue? Full disclosure, I do have 3 partner statues. Not trying to pump bags here, just saying. What are your thoughts on big people coming in, what they would buy? Do you think they'd buy comics more than anything, because comics do have that physical value of crazy amounts, and a lot of the statues don't?
It's interesting that VeVe went the comic route, and I really love that they did, and that the fact that they got the Marvel license. I think that is way underestimated what a big deal that is. So comics are quite popular, especially because Marvel made the movies. And so it creates this nostalgia for comics and where all these movies originated from. And I think some of these comics do extremely well in a bull run. And I think so many of them, these early ones, do really well in the coming 30 years. So it's like, which ones? Well, some will massively outperform others. I don't know which ones will have the highest multiples from here. I frequently pick up a few more, and this and that. I especially like the comics over the collectibles because some of them are so cheap and they're so scarce that I just like the potential over some of the collectibles. The collectibles seem to keep their original value better than some of these comics do. I think some people are missing the bigger picture with these comics. The collectibles too, like, I think these will do really well in the future. Now, some collectibles that just aren't really big names, that don't get high desirability, well, they'll do all right, but other ones will do incredible.
I agree. Bruno Rodriguez saying that it's hard to keep up with. It's been 5 years that I've been in VeVe project, 5K invested. Really hard to still believe in this project. I understand, especially when you have other platforms that are going down. Like Magic Eden, they had, I think, raised a couple $100 million at over $1 billion valuation years ago, and they're closing up their NFT marketplace. Like they're still going to be existing as a business. They've just determined that it's counterproductive to keep the NFT marketplace because it costs more than it makes them. And it's like, okay, well, if Magic Eden, which at one time had like most of the transactions of NFTs on Solana, is closing up shop, what chance does VeVe have? Well, VeVe is obviously the biggest one out there, and they are, again, just to, like, think about that for 30 seconds. VeVe didn't have anywhere close to that many transactions on Immutable X as Magic Eden did on Solana, and Solana's closing up, or Magic Eden's closing up shop on their NFT marketplace, but VeVe is not. I think that says something about the team, about their foresight, about their management, their resource allocation. What do you interpret out of that?
Well, just because you raise a bunch of money and you throw a bunch of money at a problem doesn't mean you throw a bunch of money at it effectively, which we see a lot of cases back in the .com boom and then bust. A lot of companies, all they do is like they had a little bit of an idea and a little bit of a product and or software, and they would do a public. They'd go public and they'd raise so much capital, and they just didn't deploy the capital correctly, and a lot of those went out of business. So in the crypto space, you see that happen all the time, especially during boom years. So it's like, oh, $1 billion valuation, they raised 200 million. It's like, if they're not deploying that capital well, they won't survive. Now, VeVe has a track record. It has a track record that most crypto companies don't have. They've built an audience. They have real customers paying real money for actual collectibles. And that's why they keep surviving. And that's why they keep getting such good brands.
Agreed. There's, speaking of brands, you had Crypto Robbery saying that, hey, actually, he requoted a guy named Mookie, 150,000 followers on X, who had said 2026 will be the year of NFTs. Let's make NFTs great again. He shows Pudgy Penguins, Nakimogos, Sport 8 Yacht Club, Little Pudgies. And then Crypto Robbery says, when I see posts like these, I laughed because a lot of these projects won't make it. Only a handful will turn into profitable IPs. Now, when you look at VeVe Official, they have 40 to 50-year-old proven IPs. We're in the golden age of NFTs and people still are only buying PFPs. When will they learn VeVe for the win? I think some of those things, like VeFriends, I think will do well. I think Pudgy Penguins and Moonbirds, you know, they have some staying power. Will the other ones that I can barely remember their names, I don't know. Or maybe you have like Chimpers as a dark horse, or maybe you have Claynosaurs as a dark horse. That makes it. But maybe Pudgy Penguins and Moonbirds don't. You know, again, we have no idea. At this point, like, because we have, I mean, they announced Avatar, and we'll go over that. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but aside from Pokemon, what other licenses could they get? Like, there's so many that we have already. Like, what are other ones that could give them a little bump? Because I can't think of any.
They have so many good ones. They have enough good ones to go into the bull market with, but they keep adding more. So like G.I. Joe, Transformers, it would be so fun to have drivable cars and ships that are Transformers that could also transform into robots. Yeah, I'd love to see that. G.I. Joe, some of the things that I was a big fan of as kids. So they have Thundercats, or wait, did they announce Thundercats?
Well, they have the Thundercats comic books, which are, the first one I read was okay. They had a Thundercats and Powerpuff Girls crossover. I didn't read that. I hope it's good. But they do not have Thundercats collectibles yet.
Okay. Yeah, so
maybe they will.
Some of those big IPs from the 90s would be good ones.
Yeah.
G.I. Joe, like Transformers. What else is big IP? No, they're hitting a lot of good ones. And what I love about David is he's so dialed into the collector space. So, and he's so good at closing amazing brand deals. So I can say from my standpoint, I'm blown away at all the cool brands he's already lined up. And probably there's a lot more to come as far as cool brands. Like, he's crushing it in this space.
Yeah. We backed the right horse. Speaking of new brands, Booth is asking if I think Avatar: The Last Airbender. Think that could be a VeVe Grail. There's going to be 2005 of those, so I don't know if it'll be a Grail. But I do think that the number 2005. I already put $1,000 bounty on it. I don't know if any other numbers would, but I think there's too many editions for it to be considered a Grail. Rain, did you ever watch Avatar: The Last Airbender?
I watched the movie. I never watched the cartoon, but I think it could be a Grail, even with 2005 editions. Like, that's small compared to Darth Vader and some of the things that released like 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's a big enough IP that could totally become a Grail. I think you're onto something, Booth.
I guess it could, but so there might be. I know my
maybe not in the short term, right? We're talking longer term. Like maybe even bull run, it could, but it probably won't in the next number of months.
Yeah, I mean, mine and Booth generation loves that. That's so good. Adrian was 100 people on Stacker this week. Are you sure there's not more? Could have sworn there'd be more. I feel like I buy stuff from a lot of people, but yeah, maybe I haven't bought for more than 100 people. Who knows? We shall see. There was a new Clever Bridge is a new payment provider for VeVe now, and there's a lot of upset people whose jimmies are rustled because now they have to pay more for 100 gems. Guys, this is not VeVe doing this, trying to nickel and dime us. This is just they have to remain regulatory compliant. And a way to do that is when governments of the world say, like, hey, we want our taxes up front, they have to oblige. And they did. So now, depending on where you are, 100 gems in the UK costs you $121, which is insane. The UK is just, oh my God, that is awful. And even in the US, it wouldn't let me. I used to just do it off PayPal, and it has a PayPal button, which is really cool, but it wouldn't let me use the PayPal button. So like, okay, instead of just doing this, I'll just go on Stacker, because app.vv.me wouldn't work for me either. But I went on Stacker, I just did Omi to gems, and there's no tax on that up front. $100 gets you 100 gems, and it burns 7% of the Omi. So I think that is a fantastic. So you still get your 100 gems, but 7% of that Omi is burned. That is hella fantastic. We should all want to do that. I'll contribute to that burn. Have you bought gems recently? Have you played with that new system?
I bought gems through the app lately.
Did it take you to a third party? Did it have you?
It was a little bit weird the last time I did it. The process had changed, so I was a little bit confused by it, but I don't know. I was trying to get it in so I could mint my Ecomi secret rare coin.
Yes.
Like, wait, the rules have changed. What? Oh, hurry.
There's been a lot of those. There's been a couple of rule changes recently. How often do you Stacker versus the app?
I mostly still use the app, so I don't go to Stacker all that much.
There tends to be a lot of deals on there. Every now and then you do get some people that are some items that are cheaper on VeVe, but for the most part the items are cheaper on Stacker, which is nice. You get to go and get a little bit of those discounts. Speaking of discounts, well, this is the opposite of a discount. Paramount has officially acquired, or it hasn't gone through yet. The government has to approve it, but they have reached a deal with Warner Brothers to acquire them for $110 billion, $100 billion of which is debt, which is bananas. So I am curious on, out of all of those licenses, so you can get DC Comics on VeVe now. You can get Game of Thrones, you get Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, the movie rights, not the books. I think you get Sopranos, you get so many different things. And I know you mentioned Transformers, and you mentioned Beast Wars, Power Rangers, My Little Pony. One of them, I forget. G.I. Joe, Go Joe. You get these. What should David's priority be? Should it be comics? Should it be something else? Harry Potter?
I'd love to see them add DC Comics to this, right? So that would be such a big deal. So even though I have a bunch of the candy ones will always be, some of those will be the first appearances of them. And I think as long as there's a way to access those NFTs and access the marketplace related to them, I think they could have even stronger value if it gets handed over to VeVe, because they'll be super scarce and very, very different. But I would love to see VeVe get DC Comics too, so it becomes the main place for comics. I would love that.
There's so many things to buy. It's like, okay, what's going to go up first? What, and you don't know, like nobody does. Elon Musk plans to have SpaceX file for an IPO valued at $1.75 trillion. And it's like, okay, well, why bring that up? What does that have to do with VeVe? Well, if you can't decide on which grail, whether it's Todd, Superman, the VeVe logo, Comey logo, whatever, it doesn't matter. And you're just like, I don't know the collectibles market enough. I don't know this market enough, but I do know TradFi and I do know stocks. And there's a chance that one day, not anytime soon, but one day that VeVe can become 100 billion, even $1 trillion company. And they could just go in and buy shares. For someone that's been investing for a while, and especially for me, like a lot of my net worth has come from just shares of companies over the last few years. Very little has anything to do with crypto. Not saying that you sell crypto for it, but do you take some funds in the next 6 months, let's say whenever VeVe gets on there, that maybe were going to go into crypto, but instead you reallocate them towards stocks, towards VeVe, because crypto has not been working so much the last few years?
If crypto doesn't go up, then no. If crypto does go massively up and VeVe is for some reason cheap on the stock, then I would do it. But I'm not going to sell what's inexpensive to buy what is hard to know how expensive it is, unless it's clear how cheap VeVe is. So it's like, I think in the coming 6 months, when interest rates come down, I do think all we're waiting for is money supply growth. And so continued quantitative easing combined with interest rates coming down, I think in the coming 6 months, I think crypto, especially some of these altcoins, see some momentum. And in that environment, if OMI goes like 200x and VeVe's, for some reason, the VeVe stock price is cheap, great. The only other reason I would buy some of the VeVe stock, if they tie some collectibles to it, right? They're like, oh, if you have this much OMI and you have this much of VeVe stock and you have this, it's like, oh crap, you bastards. Now I have to buy some because like I get FOMO over that stuff.
That's a lot of,
I say bastards, but I would be happy, right? That's just brilliant. It's just brilliant. And it gets people like me to take actions I wouldn't have otherwise taken, because I hate to miss out on that.
There's I feel like that might be asking a lot, because it's like, okay, have collectibles have OMI, or have stocks have OMI, and then you get rewarded like that. I feel like that'd be asking for a lot if they
the
did
combination of all of that, right? And how would they be able to track it on their app? That's like, yes, you have VeVe stock too, right? Because how would stackers say, for example, no, and be able to confirm it? Now, maybe by then there's a way, but for now, that would be harder.
I mean, you have things that can seemingly be unconnected, but you can link them, like Credit Karma has ways to link your cards and your accounts, so this way it can track your spending and track your benefits. And I think if there are apps that can do that, you should be able to go and do that with the VeVe Stacker. Like there's got to be something they could add on, connect your E-Trade, connect your TD Ameritrade, whatever it is.
Account, right? So
yeah. So I would say that stock market in general is betting, whether it goes up, goes down, short it, make it short. Do you think VeVe gets big enough that they go on Polymarket? Like people make bets on what VeVe does, on what the OMI token does, or even what some of the influencers do. Could we be potential bets on Polymarket? How long will Crypto Reigns and Randy Chavez's next stream go for? 30 minutes, 120 minutes?
I think there's a chance that VeVe, number one, digital collectibles will become so big that will be, those kind of things will be on Polymarket. And if VeVe keeps the lead position on that, which I think they will, then people will be betting on VeVe things on Polymarket. And then Randy and Rain maybe someday creating some different types of fun videos together. And fun. People betting on what are they going to do next.
That would be great. I could see that. You sent me a video of something the other day that we could do, and that could be fun.
Yeah,
that'd be good.
Call the show like Crypto Bros or something, or Randy and Rain. You know, one of my favorite lines from all time comes from Warner Brothers Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain. And at the end of every show, you know, Pinky would be like, "What we gonna do tomorrow, Brain?" He's like, "Same thing we do every day, Pinky." "What's that, Brain?" And he's like, "Try to take over the world." Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's such a good show. Such a good line. I love there was one episode, I think it was a Christmas episode, or something happened with Brain and he had to ask Pinky what he wanted to do, because it was like, maybe it was a Ghost of Christmas Past, whatever. Like, he had to do whatever Pinky wanted. And then he's like, and you know, what do you want to do? And he's just like, gotta take over the world, Brain. He's like, that's what I want to do. He's like, yeah, but I love you, and this is what you want to do, so I want to do it. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. That's such a
yeah, that Animaniacs was funny.
Yeah, that's so good.
Good writers.
Let's bring back to VeVe and Omi. We have Scott Colantonio earlier this week saying he officially crossed the 100 million Omi mark with the sale of his secret rare Comey logo. There are still people that are going in and they're trying for big boy numbers. 100 million Omi used to be a big boy number. Now not as much. Still pretty good to get though. You also have new goals that people are trying to set. I want to get 1 billion. Even if I don't get there, I think I can get to half a billion. What's your goal? What are your?
I'd like to get to 1 billion. So it's like, well, selling what's cheap to buy what else is cheap doesn't make sense at this point. So I hope that altcoins run in different narratives and that Omi's narrative isn't first, so that something else can go expensive and then I can roll it into Omi while it's still meaningfully cheap and get much higher numbers of Omi.
There's a couple people that have celebrated their level 100 this time. How far away are you from that?
I'm level 84. Now, some of it happened because I wasn't checking my app. And you know how if you like don't log in for 5 days, you start missing out on all kinds of points. I was like, oh crap, shoot. You're kidding me. How much I miss out on. But yeah, I'm just at level 84. And I think, you know, like it's going pretty fast to level 85. I think you get about 3,500 points a day. It's like, okay, every 30 days roughly it's a level, and it's like, well, shoot, actually that's going to take over a year. I might accelerate it at some point, but we'll see. By buying a whole bunch of things that like can accelerate that, so I'm getting 5,000 or 10,000 a day.
In the previous month, in the month of February, because we're in March now, there was actually 459 people using Stacker. So that I think is pretty good, considering it is a secondary market, not exactly what people use for primary. However, they do go on there on primary days. Whenever we craft stuff or buy stuff, they do go on there. And yeah, a lot of times it does be a little bit cheaper. We did burn 61 million Omi in the month of February. I thought that was very nice. Very happy about it. And then Sean from Commerce and Crypto claimed that they gave their $2,000 bounty up to Death Trooper E11D that mint 1977. Whoever got that, congrats to y'all. Y'all got the spread. And we can't wait. Another comment, Dr. Sub says, I'm super close to level 100. Get it. I'm very happy. I hope you get it soon. Ferryman says today was able to buy a Grail to his collection. It was the founding year of DC, 1934. So that's not the year that Superman came out. That's just the year that DC was founded. It doesn't say how much he paid for it, but special mint numbers have been going pretty crazy. That's hard for me because who determines a special mint number. You could have, like, everyone can agree, maybe like the 1901 partner statue, or that, because that's the year Walt Disney was born, or maybe 1923, because that's when Disney was founded. But there's other ones, like here's the artist's birthday, here's the writer's birthday. Like some of them, it gets hard to for people to find value in. What's your take on mint numbers where you have people spending, I think last week, $69 million OMI for a Boba Fett one, because it was the year he came out? What's your opinion on those? Are they taking crazy pills, or are they just like, no, they're onto something?
They're onto something. They're going to be a little bit more slow to sell because, and maybe if they do it auction style, it'll do just fine. But mint number is going to be extra special. So if I'm right and big money comes in, that'll be a flex that the big money will go for. So it has to be something that's meaningful, like Star Wars is meaningful. Disney and special numbers related to that are meaningful. So if you talk about IP that has meaningful things like DeLorean, if you get, I don't know what year the original one came out with, let's just say it's 1984. Well, then that would be like meaningful. And you'll have people with big money going for those. And they do go for a lot more right now, but it's nothing compared to what we've seen. Now, I haven't gone for those. I'd rather just buy a whole bunch of the floor commons or something, because then I can take profits on the way up. I don't need to fill myself with a whole bunch of collectibles that I don't feel I can ever sell. Not at this point. Like, when I'm worth 100 million or $1 billion, maybe I'll play with some of that. But for now, it's not time yet.
Agreed. Same here. Is there a time frame on which maybe it's not a time frame, maybe it's an amount of where you have enough? Okay, have enough collectibles, I have enough OMI, time to go to other investments and let this bag ride? Or is it just like, listen, you can never have enough OMI. As long as the price is down here, I'll keep stacking, even if it's down here for another 18 months?
Yeah, it's really price dependent. So I think we're like solidly in a green zone for my own, that I wish I had more available money to just keep buying at this price. And I would buy endlessly if it meant I got to 1 million, or excuse me, I'm well over 1 million. But if it meant I got to 1 billion and then 2 billion and then 5 billion, I would just keep buying. OMI's one of my favorites, where I feel like the chance that they survive until the coming bull run is fairly high. The chance that if they do, their token can go up tremendously is really high. And how punished the price is right now is incredible. And so it's the perfect storm, in my opinion. A lot of people don't get it. I've been studying markets and market cycle behavior for 25 years now. OMI is one of my favorite bets at this price. Hell yes.
There's many things to look at when VeVe blows up. Obviously, the OMI token will go nuts, but then the demand for our attention, is already very high, but it'll go even higher. And at that point, we can kind of coast. We don't I'm not going to need to go live every day in order to kind of command that attention, but that's when it gets fun. That's when, you go from 111 people here to, 2,000 people here, and you can't keep up with the comments. And it's, I don't know. Do you continue doing this? Is that when you put your foot on the gas and it's like, okay, I'm going to stream twice as much now? Or is that when you say, like, people know who I am, we'll just keep it as is. And if they want to have my attention, they can join Patreon, they can join your Discord group? How do you play it?
It depends on how fun it is. So as the market goes crazy, it's like I'm going to cash out a bunch of investments. And so then I'll still keep the private Discord going and be promoting the private Discord, while I'll continue to teach people and educate people how to be cycle investors, and fundamental investors, where they're buying cheap and they're having the patience to hold, and teaching those principles. But a lot of my videos will shift towards whatever we have fun doing. And so I'm not sure. Maybe it will be going down the streets and showing people VeVe and getting reactions to it. and then having them film a video with like some collectible, right? Maybe the T-Rex chasing them or something, or Hulk smashing them or whatever, and just make fun videos, and then maybe do a competition. Whoever does the coolest one as voted by the audience will get like $100 or whatever. Just some kind of fun thing that we can do, that as long as we're having fun doing it. And I think there's lots of things that we could do that will be fun, right? So
yeah, I think I have a bunch of ideas already, especially when we have Avatar, like, because so you have Aang, who's an airbender. So I could picture. You ever see that commercial on how to keep like bugs out of your kitchen? And this guy goes through all the ways to keep bugs out. And one way is he has like these like spotlights or skylights shining in there. It's like, and he's got like a bunch of glasses. He's like, bugs hate bright lights, and he keeps it in there so the bugs go away. Another time he has these like bands that you have on like buses or like trams going from one part of the airport to another that you hold on to. And he's got them in his kitchen with a bunch of fans going on. He's like, bugs can't survive these gale force winds. And he holds on to. I think we did that for like Avatar. Be like, here, I'm trying to withstand Avatar Aang's, whatever Air Force attack that he has. Or we get sprayed with like a fire hose. Like, all right, Katara, give it to me. He water bends you like right in the face. I think those type of things would be fun. Those would be cool. They might.
Yeah. Why not make the content along the lines of what is just like returning to our 5-year-old selves, our 5 to 14-year-old selves, doing whatever that, because what else is FU money for? So what I love about crypto is there's no better place to get FU money. I wish more people could understand how to get there and the patience it requires, the tenacity it requires. But once you understand that and you let it play out over the bigger cycle, the gains that you can have exceed anything else I've seen. It's really exciting to me. So it's like, I don't doubt that we're going to have another massive bull run. And when we do, it'll be harvest time. And then that will be FU level money. That it's like, we can just video having fun. And I think if we're just having fun, it'll go quite viral. And if it doesn't, who cares? Because we have FU money anyway. We can do it just for our amusement and play around with it.
I show Speed got famous because he streamed every day in his underwear for years. Maybe we could do that. We have different like dress up days. Be like, one day we dress up in a suit and tie, another day we dress up like 70s, and another day we dress up just as probably have like wife beater with like Cheeto stains on it and just play video game. That sounds fun. I would totally do that.
It would be fun too to have impractical Joker type stuff where we have like comms and you have a piece in your ear and I have a piece in my ear, and then we like have each other walk down the street and we tell the other person what to say to these people, and the person has to say it. That would be so funny.
Do not give me that power.
That's a great way to get rid of like your fear. So we have this inborn fear. Now, I like to study the psychology of people behavior and why we do the things that we do. Why do you think I have such a pretty wife? I'm a decent looking guy, but it's like the better you can understand men and women and what women need, like it really helps you. But we all have this innate fear that like we'll get rejected and kicked out of the tribe and then we'll die. And so that's why we're scared to try new things. We're scared to say things that people won't like because 2,000 years ago, if you got ostracized from the tribe, you'd probably die. And you can override that. But to override that has to come through actually doing it and realizing you didn't die. And so as long as Brandy wouldn't make me say something that would make me die, then, over time, like those fears will go away.
Like Leslie Chow from Hangover. But did you die? And every time they like, you had us do this. Did you die?
Exactly.
Yeah, there's a game. It wouldn't involve comms. It's not even a real game. It comes from the show Scrubs, and it's called Watch Her Leave. And it's when you see this is a horrible game. We would never play this, but it's when one of your boys is talking to like, a cute girl. You go up to him and be like, "We got the clap," and you just say like something that makes her leave. And again, it's a horrible game, but in the show Scrubs, that was hysterical. That would be fun. a game that we'll never play, but we'll decide. And we might have the audience pick. Like we'll have like 5 games, and we could have the audience pick. All right, which one do you want to see on our next video?
That'd be fun. And we'll do some lives, and we'll do some like pre-recorded, because like say we're going to do a competition. We, talk to a bunch of people on the street, and then we have them film things. Like you wouldn't necessarily want to watch that live, because like that might take us 6 hours to get a whole bunch of people filming it and stuff. And then it condenses into like a 15-minute video.
Yeah. Yeah, that's hard. That's a rough one. Anyway, anything you got before we take a bounce?
That's all. I know sentiment is generally down. People are like, crypto and win crypto. And it's like, that's normal part of the process. The fact that so many people are bearish right now, I'm telling you, it's a good thing. I don't think this bull market is over. I don't think we're in for a 3-year or 4-year bear market. Altcoins never really hit. And that is meaningful. And the fact that so many people are turning bearish, I'm telling you, that's a good thing. So I'm very optimistic that we're in for massive money supply growth, and that's going to resonate really good for altcoins. So we'll see. There is a chance that I'm wrong on that, but I'm not wrong all that often.
We'll see where it goes. Everyone, bye to Dashi. Bye-bye, Dashi. We love you. Until next week. Can't wait.